My name is Birgitta Visser, and besides the corporate world, I'm a soul empowerment coach, channel, and light language healer.
Can you tell me about your own mental health journey?
Yes, it's funny, mental health. I have a little bit of a different take on that, but
Yeah.
mental health is really about where we store our unhealed trauma within our minds because everything is mental. Yeah. And so we store that in our little hypothalamus, and which I call like the archives of our, of the mind. Every time we go through an experience and it's not healed, it triggers us. But my mental health journey has been a roller coaster. It's been up, up and down. And now, even in this day and age, it's far more open to talk about mental health
Yeah.
issues and what people are going through. Whereas, many years ago, it was very different because I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and the times are very, very different. But in a nutshell, I mean, I was assaulted by a friend of the family when I was like 10, 11 years old. And, you carry that with you. I started starving myself when I was very young, because that was like a coping mechanism. And, I lost my dad when I was 14. I was bullied in high school because I was skinny and I was 5'11". I was one of the tallest in my class. And I just had this immense fear, and it just kept building up and up and up because I didn't alchemize my experiences. I didn't heal. And so it really, I mean, it made me feel very insecure. And I carried a lot of fear within me, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And then my mom was like, wait, maybe I should put you on a modeling course. And so she did. But that didn't relieve the pain that I was carrying. Because I was really like the hunchback of Notre Dame walking around. I wanted to be invisible. That's how bad it got. And even in the modeling industry, I mean, I couldn't live of it. Honestly, Michael, I could not live of it. I would have been living under a bridge. But I was also assaulted by a hairdresser in New York. And that was really horrific for me as well. But I didn't know who to turn to. It would be his word against my word. And I don't know. I used myself as a punching bag. And of course, when you go through this trauma and you don't heal it, well, what did I attract? Broken birds. So I rolled into dysfunctional relationships, and there was all different kinds of abuse, but it was really a trigger for me to start taking responsibility for my life. And I suffered from depression. It's a label to me, depression, right? Because it's pressing upon our soul, it's pressing upon our mind and our heart, and we cannot find a way out. And there were times that I would be screaming on the floor. And even with one of my exes, it got so bad because he was held for ransom by a gang when I was living in Holland. And I downed a whole box of ibuprofens. I did help the police, in Holland, and my mom got me out of Holland very, very, very quickly. And then he was sent back to the US, deported back to the US. But, I had my life threatened. The guy threatened to find me and kill me. And that really shook me to my core. That's why I downed a whole box of ibuprofens. But I knew at that point that I had to do something. I had to get myself out of that hole. And what people often don't understand is it takes so much strength and so much courage to try and get yourself out of that valley, and find a way forward. And, it wasn't easy because I went to see a counselor. And for me, the counselor said, Brigitta, you're strong enough. You'll be fine. Eventually, of course, I was going to be fine, but not at that point. And so I had to figure something else out. So I walked the holistic route. And, bit by bit, I peeled back the layers of my trauma, and I became a little bit lighter. But I also suffered. And I suffered from tremendous headaches for many, many years. because I kept a little my emotions. And I was really playing Houdini with my emotions. And because that's what we do. But and of course, like I said, I was starving myself, and also I was working like a maniac. So I was avoiding myself at all costs, but I didn't see it that way until I finally had to start that healing journey. I had hit rock bottom, so I had, I was with my back against the wall, so I had to do something. And it doesn't mean that my life's always been easy, but I think when we start with our healing journey and we look at ourselves in the mirror and we take that responsibility and that accountability for our lives, and it doesn't matter how you heal as long as it aligns with your spirit. But once you start that healing journey, it's not going to get better from one day to the next, but you have to take it one step at a time, and one breath at a time and one day at a time, and just put one foot in front of the other. And some days are better than others. And it took me quite some years. And trust me, even after that, I had difficult experiences. But I'm now at a point in my life where I look at my experiences more objectively, and it's like, why is this person triggering me? Or why is this happening for me? Yeah, not to me, but for me. And how can I change? What do I need to work on? And that's the beauty. That's the beauty about people and our experiences, because they are triggers and they're reflections, and yet they are teachers. And it's all about shifting our perspective and shifting our mindset. And there's something in quantum mechanics, and I love quantum physics. Yeah, it's where, and what the bleep do we know, which is so many, many, many years ago. And I did my thesis on that for addiction and alcohol abuse. And it's really that simple saying, change your thinking, change your life. It's not easy, but yes, you can do it.
What was it like telling your story publicly for the first time?
Wow, that's a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, probably. I was really, that was tough. That was tough. It wasn't easy. I think when I started out, it was really like, how are people going to perceive me? What are they going to think of me? But at the end of the day, that's a societal condition, right? It's like, you have to act a certain way, you have to be a certain way, but that's not true. You have to be who you are. You have to be comfortable within your own skin. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. What's important is what you think of you.
And I talk to a lot of mental health professionals and learn all different techniques and
Yes.
all that. And it's good. I have my own treatment, but I always want to learn more things. And I saw your the divine channel. What is that?
So yeah, I mean, I studied many healing modalities,
Yes.
like Reiki, EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, meditation, aroma touch, aromatherapy, and many other techniques. But I learned to channel when I went to a workshop back in St. Petersburg in Florida. I had no idea. I just, it was one of these things, you're going to laugh. I was sitting in a workshop. It was quite big. And I was sitting to the side in the room, and everyone sat in a circle. And the teacher, she was a Akashic record healer. So she walked through past lives, but she also does soul empowerment coaching. And it was really interesting because she counted to 3 and I was gone. And then half an hour later, she counted back from 3, 2, 1, and I was back in the room. Everyone had seen all these beautiful colors and spoken to their guides and, spoken to the angels, whatever. And there I was. Nothing, nada, nothing, absolutely nothing. I was really upset, and I was sitting in the corner, and I was wiping my tears away. And my mentor at the time, I'm still in touch with her. And I'll get to what divine channeling is. She said, just take your pen and sit there with your notepad and just say to the universe, I am open and I am ready to receive, and see what you write. Don't think about it, just write. And so I ran out the workshop once it was finished, went home, and that's exactly what I did. I think, my mind was so far shot to hell as I'd come out of another very difficult relationship where the guy would not leave me alone. And and I sat down, and it was late at night, and I sat down with my notepad and my pen, and I said that, and I started to write. And then I looked back at it, and I still have it, and it was Old English. I wrote it in Old English, and it was fascinating. And I just asked the universe questions. And I started doing that every day, and also asked about healing. So it was really a beautiful healing process for me. And channeling or automatic writing is really where you just open yourself up, and it's like your higher consciousness, and to the universe, and just asking for guidance. And I really, really got that. It wasn't always the answers that I wanted, but I received the answers that I needed, for to continue with my life. So that was it was really profound. And now it's like second nature to me. I can just sit down and I can just call upon anyone, and if they have a message to convey, then they will convey it.
Yeah, how does that healing process help mental health?
It does, absolutely. And you know what? Can I just say something, Michael? I think
Yeah,
any healing methodology, whatever you choose, is always a little piece of the puzzle. And at the end of the day, you do feel lighter within yourself. And what happens for your mental health? It like you strip the layers and you work through your pain, and that is so important. And I know a very black and white example, like in the corporate world, many people will huff and puff, and I've done it because it's difficult, and it often, it's like it preys on your mental health, because we get so inundated with work that we're like, how am I going to finish? Oh my gosh, I've got responsibilities, and to what time am I going to work today? And and then you go to bed, and you're worried, about, you make all these lists in your head, because the next day you've got to get up early and continue with your work. And that's why one of the things, by the way, that I've always hammered on in the corporate industry, the company I work for, is mental health and well-being, because it's
yeah,
so important. Many people are just a number in a company.
yeah.
Yeah. And we are people. We have feelings. And it's time that companies give one another space and listen to people, because often that is not the case. People hear, but they don't listen to others. And there's a big difference. And people need to stop being judgmental and just listen to one another. And I've seen this in my company. Many people are just stressed out, and it's so sad. And I think that's worldwide. And that's why mental health is so much on the forefront. Yeah. And we just need to heal from that. And we just need to make sure that whatever we do in life aligns with our spirit, and that we're happy within ourselves. Because when we suffer from mental health issues or other forms of dis-ease, which will come out anywhere in the body, it means that we are not aligned within our own body. Our soul doesn't sit peachy within our own skin, because we're doing things that don't resonate with us.
How does it help for people to be open with all different kinds of treatment?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I dipped my toes into various things. That doesn't mean every single modality worked for me, because it didn't.
Yeah,
But you keep searching, right? Because you want to get better. And that's the most important thing. You want to get better. You're standing there and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to stand in my victimhood any longer. I'm going to take back my power, and I'm going to get better. And whether you start with a doctor, whether you start with a counselor, just find out what works for you. And even if one person is not right for you, keep searching. I think that's really important.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
I meditate. It really works for me. And people say, oh, meditation, yeah, but it's so juju. But it's not. If you listen to, for instance, like David G on YouTube, he does like 20-minute meditations. I love him. And he really works on the breath, because the breath is so important. When we calm down with the breath, for like taking, I do 8 8 8 8, but you start up with 4, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold for 4. Yeah, even when you start doing that, that will calm you right back down. But David G has lovely meditations on anxiety, fear, opening yourself up. He's got so many different areas, or so many different topics. And you just play and plug in and you listen to it and follow the guidance. And that has done wonders for me. I listen to a lot of other meditations as well, like Caroline McCready, and she's totally focusing on the breath. And it starts with my day off right. And, and at the end, and when I go to bed, it's the same thing. There is one other thing that I really like. I like Emile Coué. He was a French pharmacist, and he gave patients the medication, and some became better. And then he thought, you know what? I'm going to give some a placebo effect and give them an affirmation, or as I call it, an invocation, because, words have power. And he said this: every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Yeah. And that's something positive that we tell ourselves. And then he said, and then I added to it, and I'm sending myself miracles and insights right now. And that is really powerful. So when you say that 20 times in the morning and 20 times when you go to bed, the energy changes. And you also will start to feel more positive about yourself and better within yourself. For some people, that's, you go running or you go to the gym. But I found that it is very powerful. But meditation is my go-to.
And your voice is very soothing. So,
Thank
how
you.
does it feel for you to be helping others?
I love it. To be honest with you, I'm humbled to be able to help others. Um, and when I get their feedback, or they're free of pain, and it's like one person said, "How is this possible? I was so stressed. Why am I not stressed anymore? How is this possible?" And yeah, I think any healing that we do, it just has a profound effect. And I always say to people, you know what? If you don't, you can't knock it if you don't try it. You got to
Right.
try it first. Yes. If you do nothing, nothing happens. But yes, I'm very humbled to be able to do what I do.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
People going through a tough time, I will listen to them because I'm pretty empathic, but I will always ask, what are you going to do about it? Yeah. And it's about shifting, as I said earlier, it's about shifting our perspective. Yeah. Again, if you're going through a tough time, what is this experience teaching me? How can I overcome this? It's about evaluating. It's about analyzing the experience, rather than sitting there saying, yeah, but this person did this to me. And why did they do this to me? No, what if I were to hold a mirror up to you, right? Who'd you be pointing your fingers at? At yourself. Because regardless of the trauma we go through, you are responsible for your own life. You have to pick up the pieces. Nobody else can do that for you. And so you can sit there all you like, but all you will do is attract more negativity, and it acts like a domino effect. So how do you change the negative to the positive? You're the producer, the director, the script writer, you're the actor. So what are you going to do about it? You, at any point in time, can change your story. And when you change your story, you reprogram yourself, you rewire everything within the brain, but you also, our central nervous system, everything hits on our central nervous system as well. So it's really important to nurture ourselves and to be kind to ourselves. And trust me, I've beaten myself back, black and blue in the boxing ring too many times. Because I really had to learn. I couldn't understand it. I was always saying, what, why are people doing this to me? Why? Why can I not be happy? And everything is within us. That happiness comes from within us. And that's why we have to do the inner work. And once we do the inner work, when our energy changes and we feel so much lighter within ourselves, we can breathe, our outer world also changes.
Where do you want to see your mission in the next 3 to 5 years?
Ooh, I really want to empower and inspire people. And I do that by writing books. I do that by healing sessions. And I have one free Zoom session a month, which is starting to get pretty packed. But it's really about empowering and inspiring others, to let them know that you don't have to remain in your trauma. You don't have to remain in these painful experiences that you're going through. You are deserving of a better life. I mean, we all are. And it's really looking at ourselves and, coming to a place of acceptance and surrendering, but also learning to forgive ourselves and loving ourselves. And that's so important, returning to that love for ourselves. That's why I always say to people, hug it out with yourself. And even though we have these pesky demons in our head that keep talking to us, it's like, sit down with them, yeah, and ask them, what, why am I feeling this way? Just ask the questions, and the answers will come.
With books, what is it like getting all your thoughts, ideas, feelings out on the page?
Oh, it's so healing for me. It's done me the world of good. It's incredible. I mean, my first book was very, very, very raw. I was very vulnerable in it, because I just wanted to get it out there that, we all go through things in life. But no matter how bleak it is, we can always find the light. And all my books have been, I recently released another one, Child of the Sun, en route to enlightenment in India, because I was in India quite some years ago. That's where I learned meditation and breath work. I was in an ashram, and I'm very much a seeker. I really am. Always wanting to progress in life and to develop in life. And I actually love life now. I used to hate it. I used to hate myself so much. But I do love life. And it's all about being in the flow. I talk very much about being in the flow with yourself and the universe. And then I have another 3 books coming out this year, collaboration books. One is about sacred plant medicine, because I've done ayahuasca, kambo medicine, which is the frog medicine. And I've done psilocybin, which is mushrooms, and San Pedro cactus. All part of my healing journey, and I'm still healing, like every one of us. We are a work in progress. And then another one where I talk about it's a collaboration book called Miracles Are Normal, which will be out later this year. And then one where I talk about angels.
How can people reach out and learn more?
I have a website called powersoulhealing.com, and they can find more about me there. And then I'm on Instagram under Universal Light Warriors. And then I have a YouTube channel called Power Soul Healing.